Hello everyone, welcome back to the Global Conflict News channel. Please subscribe my channel because today's story is not just an update but a shocking reminder of how fragile life becomes in moments of war. The recent Israeli airstrike that tore through a Gaza neighborhood without warning has left an indelible scar on the ground and in the memory of those who survived. To understand the full scale of what happened, it is important to approach it from every possible angle, not only as a tragic human story but also as a breakdown of the event through the lens of exterior destruction, interior consequences, the performance of the strike itself, the absence of safety features, what Israel may have considered unique selling points of such an operation, the cost both financially and socially, and finally the conclusion of what this means for the people and for the region at large. The exterior scene of the strike speaks first because it is impossible to ignore. Entire rows of houses that once stood with children's laughter inside, with laundry lines strung across balconies, and with shops at the corners selling bread and vegetables, were reduced to dust. Buildings were cut open like boxes with their facades ripped off, leaving furniture hanging on broken floors. The streets that had been filled with vendors, bicycles, and neighbors walking were transformed into craters and rubble. Concrete and steel beams lay twisted, cars burned out and windows shattered for blocks beyond the impact. The sheer force of the bomb left scorch marks blackening walls that managed to stay upright, though barely. The skyline of the neighborhood changed in an instant from a recognizable cluster of homes to a jagged wasteland of ruin. Even the air remained thick with smoke and the acrid scent of explosives long after the noise of jets had disappeared. In one sweeping moment, the exterior of a vibrant community became a portrait of devastation, and for those who witnessed it, the neighborhood ceased to exist as it once did. The interior is even more painful though shorter to describe, because inside those homes that were hit, there were families gathered at ordinary hours of the day. Some were having meals, others were sitting for evening prayers, children were asleep in their rooms. The sudden collapse left no time to grab belongings, no time to shield loved ones. Rooms filled with toys, photographs, wedding dresses, and school books vanished beneath rubble. Survivors dug through what used to be living rooms and kitchens searching for people they loved, their voices echoing through broken concrete. The interior of these homes, once symbols of privacy and warmth, became burial sites in seconds. The performance of the strike, as the military planners might view it, was precise from their standpoint. Israeli jets launched guided munitions designed to penetrate deeply and ensure destruction of the targeted coordinates. The bombs achieved their military objective by leveling the designated area without resistance. The efficiency of the attack was evident in how quickly it unfolded. In just minutes the operation was complete, and the jets had retreated back into the sky. The performance in terms of technical military success was flawless, yet it was this very precision that magnified the horror for civilians because there was no chance of escape. The strike demonstrated advanced targeting technology, communication between aircraft and command, and weaponry capable of flattening dense structures with accuracy. But while military officials may see performance in terms of completion of mission, the human performance was defined by screams, chaos, and rescue workers racing with bare hands and limited equipment to pull survivors from beneath crushed ceilings. For them, the performance was the raw contest between life and death measured in seconds and breaths under debris. Safety features were non-existent in this strike, and that absence tells its own story. In some military campaigns, warnings are issued through leaflets or phone calls, giving civilians minutes to evacuate. Here, there was none. No redirection to shelters, no escape corridors, no signal that death was about to descend from the skies. The lack of any civilian protection measures turned an already tragic operation into an indiscriminate massacre. Buildings in Gaza have no modern bomb shelters, no reinforced escape routes, no safety nets. Ordinary houses made of concrete blocks could not withstand the precision explosives dropped upon them. The concept of safety features in this context becomes bitterly ironic because there were none to be had. Families inside their homes assumed at least the minimal protection of four walls, but when the missiles struck, those very walls collapsed on top of them. The failure to provide warnings and the deliberate use of weapons designed for maximum destruction erased every layer of what could be considered safety. Unique selling points of the strike, from a cold military analysis, lie in Israel's demonstration of dominance, speed, and shock value. By hitting without warning, the message sent was one of absolute power and unpredictability, intended not only for the fighters Israel claims to target but also for the broader population that lives under constant surveillance. The uniqueness of this operation was in the suddenness and the choice of location, a dense civilian neighborhood rather than an isolated military outpost. It showcased Israel's ability to reach deep into Gaza, choose any street, and alter it permanently within seconds. The strike also highlighted the technological sophistication of Israel's Air Force, capable of deploying advanced precision-guided munitions that achieve total structural destruction. In the grim logic of warfare, the unique selling point was the creation of fear, ensuring that civilians feel nowhere is safe, no hour of the day predictable, no neighborhood immune. This psychological edge becomes as powerful as the bomb itself, because it lingers long after the dust settles. Price, when measured in financial terms, reflects the cost of each guided missile, the operation of fighter jets, the fuel, the surveillance equipment, and the coordination from command centers. Each strike is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars in direct expenditure. But the true price is borne not by the military but by the families whose lives were destroyed. The price was the death of children pulled from rubble, the loss of entire lineages in a single night, the displacement of survivors who no longer have a home to return to. It was the loss of livelihoods as shops and workplaces crumbled. It was the interruption of education as schools nearby closed from damage and trauma. The price was psychological, with survivors haunted by nightmares, children screaming at the sound of aircraft overhead, parents fearing the next unannounced strike. The neighborhood that once supported thousands of lives will take decades to rebuild, if it ever does. Economically, the cost to Gaza is impossible to measure because infrastructure destruction deepens poverty, multiplies unemployment, and entrenches despair. In contrast, for Israel, the financial cost of the strike is dwarfed by its defense budget, but the moral cost grows with each civilian life lost, adding pressure internationally and deepening isolation diplomatically. The conclusion of this story is as heavy as the rubble that now defines the Gaza neighborhood struck without warning. What happened is not merely an isolated event but part of a long chain of destruction and retaliation that has defined the conflict. For the families who lived there, their world ended in minutes, and no explanation of military necessity can erase that fact. The exterior tells us of buildings destroyed beyond recognition, the interior tells us of lives torn apart, the performance of the strike shows us the terrifying efficiency of modern warfare, the safety features remind us of their absence, the unique selling points explain the psychology of shock and fear, and the price measures the unbearable human cost. When all of these come together, the picture that emerges is one of overwhelming imbalance where one side holds the skies and the other holds only memories of what once was a home. This story is not simply about one airstrike but about the wider truth that in conflicts like these, ordinary people pay the heaviest price. When bombs fall without warning, it is mothers, fathers, and children who are buried under the rhetoric of military objectives. Each destroyed house erases years of labor, each lost child erases a lifetime of dreams, each displaced family deepens the humanitarian crisis that the world continues to watch. And yet the resilience of those who survive remains unbroken as they rebuild again and again, carrying the hope that someday the skies will be free of drones and jets, and neighborhoods will once more be places of safety rather than targets. The conclusion is not only a condemnation of the act itself but a call for awareness, empathy, and action to prevent the normalization of destruction without accountability. This airstrike, like so many before it, leaves us with the undeniable truth that the pursuit of power through indiscriminate violence only multiplies grief and ensures that peace remains distant.